Welcome to this demo day. And this demo day is actually demo day for the UAL's first ever Creative Business Accelerator, which we're proud to have just created and created in partnership with Google Campus. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Richard Sant, and I'm head of Careers and Employability at University of the Arts London. And we say that our mission is to help students and graduates to make a living doing what they love. And I think creative entrepreneurship is very much at the heart of that mission. Before I go further into introducing the day and saying welcome, I just want to point out that this session is being recorded from the beginning, just so that you know. But also that the pictures themselves have been recorded, so both the whole event and separate pictures will be available for you to see if you don't get to see the pitch that you wanted to see, or if you've missed any part of the event. I think that's all the housekeeping. So I just want to say that I'm really excited to be here, and I think we kind of anticipated that we might be here in person, standing in a room in London, holding something cold and refreshing, and networking with each other, and having that kind of traditional pitching, pitching demo day. But of course, that needs no explanation that that's not to be. But I was positive. I think that there are advantages, and I think there are probably people here today and in this room who wouldn't have been able to make it if we had done it in person in London. So welcome to absolutely everybody. I just want to say just a couple of words about the Creative Business Accelerator, and I won't say what it is because you're going to find out through the event what it is and how it worked and everything. But I just want to talk a little bit about the why and about why it's important and why we've done it. And some of you may have seen in the press and in a couple of league tables over the last year or so that UAL is now #1 university in the UK for producing entrepreneurs and business leaders. And I have to say we're super proud of that achievement. And to some extent, one might think, oh, that's unexpected. You might think that would really be go to a business school or business university or a technology or science institution. And no, it's us, a creative arts institution. But I think there's lots of really important reasons for that. And for me, creativity and entrepreneurship is absolutely bound up together. And entrepreneurship is about innovation and new ideas, fresh thinking, problem solving, seeing things from a different perspective and a creative perspective. So I think actually in a way it's absolutely expected that creativity and entrepreneurship is just totally bound together. I think there's also another reason why this is super important today is that as we are hopefully emerging from pandemic into a post-pandemic economy, that enterprise and entrepreneurship is going to be even more important as we create and recreate the future. And lots of people are talking about growing back greener. I like to talk about growing back more creative. And today is about celebrating 12 entrepreneurs who are helping or leading the way, if you like, for us to grow back more creative. So yeah, the purpose of today, what are we doing? I said it's a celebration. It is a celebration, and we're going to hear the pitches, and so it's an opportunity to learn about the business and ask questions, and also learn about creative acceleration. And it's slightly unique. You normally find acceleration in the tech world, and here we are doing it in the creative world. So, it's an opportunity to find out about the process as well. But it is more than a celebration and a learning opportunity, because as these 12 entrepreneurs are moving forward out of the accelerator, they're thinking about the next step and thinking about what they need next. And I think between all of us who are attending, we may have the things that they need to help them move forward, which might be contacts, it might be knowledge that they need, it might be customers, potential customers, it might be anything. And actually, we've invited each of the entrepreneurs at the end of their pitch to talk about what they need to move forward. So I do invite you to come with that lens as well, that hat on, as how we're here to help with the next stage, the beyond acceleration stage of the experience. So I probably won't say any more than that just now. But before we get to the pictures, I think we're about to watch a short video, which gives more of an explanation about and more of a flavour, I think, of the Accelerator programme itself.
UAL is the #1 university for students in the UK starting a business and becoming leaders in the creative industries as they graduate. That's why it's really important for us to have developed an accelerator that is really tailored to the needs of creative graduates in particular. The programme has been developed by UAL Careers and Employability team in partnership with Google for Startups. The programme aims to give those on it the tools they need to run a successful creative business. It's developed across 6 months, and in that time we run business development workshops, hold specialist one-to-one with experts in the creative industries, and there's also peer-to-peer learning, and each business gets assigned a mentor.
I first got involved with the UAL Careers and Employability team when I was asked to sit as a judge for the Creative Enterprise Awards in June 2019. After having such a fantastic experience, it was such an honour to be able to stay on and to work with the team in an advisor capacity to help them build the Creative Enterprise cohort that we currently have as a part of the Accelerator.
So I applied initially because I felt like it was really the right time in the business, and I naturally came to a place where I wanted to understand certain things more, and I wanted to be more intentional with what I was doing.
I saw it as an incredible opportunity to just strengthen my business in terms of creating financial security, making sure my values were in alignment with my practice, and all of the incredible other things like branding that we went over.
I think as a creative, sometimes you tend to focus only on the creative side of things. My intention with the Creative Business Accelerator was literally to look at all of the other areas that perhaps you need to explore as well to sustain a business.
It's allowed me to think a lot more concretely about what impact I want my practice to have, and therefore the value I can offer the world.
I think the overall experience has been really helpful by exchanging with other businesses and sort of like seeing that a lot of people are facing the same issues or perhaps thinking of the same problems in terms of how to go forward. That exchange was really, really rich and has definitely enriched my practice and the way I do business.
It's helped me feel like I can get on top of my financial situation and sort of understand the cost of making each piece, what my margins will be, how to work out how to pay myself, and how to forecast where I want to be in future.
Being able to sort of like look in different areas like ceramics or video making or graphic design studios has really allowed me to think completely in a different direction and structure my own thinking and my own way of accessing what are the strengths or perhaps weaknesses of my business.
I feel the one-to-ones have been really helpful because after the lecture or after the session that we've had, you can then pick out those bits that you want to work on and chat to that person, and they'll apply it directly to your business.
Really be ready and also at the same time open to hear many different feedbacks from people to basically help you develop and help you grow as a professional and as a business as well.
Really to look at where your business is and to think about how is this going to help me? What are the main things that I want to get out of this? And is this the right thing for me at this time?
100% do it. There's no harm in understanding your business a bit better by A, doing the application form, and B, if you get in, it's 6 months worth of focus and support.
Congratulations to everyone involved, and I wish the best to all the businesses, and I can't wait to follow your success.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma Thatcher. I manage the scheme and I'm the Graduate Enterprise Specialist at UAL. And I work really closely with the 12 exciting businesses that we're going to hear from today, and we're going to hear from them really shortly. So yes, I think we can start with the first presentation, please, on this.
Hello everyone, I'm really happy to be here today. One of the things I learned in past months is the importance of authenticity, especially in small business. So I tried to be as authentic as possible and as honest, and I will tell you my story because essentially Omnis' story is my story. My name is Asya and I'm designer and co-founder of Omnis. Omnis is an aesthetic-oriented fashion brand driven by character-focused storytelling. I like to say that we design clothes not for a specific age or gender, but we design for a spirit and mindset. We design for dreamers, zeitgeists, and visionaries. I'm a dreamer myself. That's basically how I ended up in London in the first place. I made my first skirt from recycling my godfather's shirt, and I turned it into a skirt, and essentially that's what I always liked, and it brought me to London. UAL not only taught me and equipped me with the right skills and techniques, but it also is the place where I met my business partner and we gave the start to Omnis. We spent countless hours making, pattern cutting, and developing the perfect products, and that's why to this day we really value the importance of people who make our products. Our first showcases were DIY shows in London member clubs, but we dreamt of showcasing in a proper fashion week. And in February 2019, we had our showcase during London Fashion Week. In pre-COVID world, we did pop-ups in Spitalfields Market. In post-COVID world, we are getting ready for one-to-one appointments and studio visits for made-to-order. Reflecting on the past months of CBA, I can say that I was definitely challenged, inspired, and motivated. I had the opportunity to sit down and ask myself, what do we do? Why do we do what we do? How do we do it? And how could we do it better? I also heard inspiring stories and most importantly, feedback from my peers and professionals of the industry. I have also had the opportunity to revise the business model and update our strategies and goals for coming 2-3 years. With the helps of Lucy, I have revised Omnis PR strategies, something that I set out as a goal when I started the accelerator to improve our PR presence. With the help of my peers, I also changed the layout of the website, improved the product photos, and made it just more user-friendly and customer-focused. With mentoring from Rahul, for the first time in the history of Omnis, I did a pre-planning for content for Omnis. We also joined TikTok, and I must say, you can see even in the photo here that Rahul is very supportive, so I think I also gained one more believer in my dreams. I used feedback from Ansel to work on our branding and storytelling, and I think it was very important for us to actually tackle this issue because we are an aesthetic focused brand and we really struggled to actually find this balance. And as a result, I wrote the manifesto for our brand, which I think summarizes what we are, who we are, and where we are heading. Our business is timeless. We do not care about the competition. Perfection is illusion. Simplicity might be the answer. Change comes from personal growth. We lead and speak to few. All follow. Keep it clean. Make it special. Evoke emotions. Push the boundaries. Inspire a change. Don't copy. Live like a dreamer. Think like zeitgeist. Build like visionary. The job should bring pleasure. Dangers, lack of money, lack of discipline, too many yeses, they. It won't be easy. It won't be fast. If we do things right, we'll make money, create cultural impact, and go down in the history. Last but not least, I would like to thank Emma for giving me the opportunity to start a business in the first place and be in the UK. She gave me also room to grow by including me in CBA. At this stage of our growth, we want to focus on our e-commerce as main sales channel. Support with digital marketing is something that we're looking for. Funding to run ads on social media. We have been already in touch with a few agencies. We're looking at about 2,000 per month for 3 months, especially before we have a return on investment. It could be in the form of Google Ads credit or a collaboration with YouTube creators, artists, and YouTube music creators to drive traffic to our website. That's it for me today. Thank you very much for dreamers, zeitgeist, and visionaries.
Thank you, Asya. We've got one question that's come in so far, so I'd like to pose that to you. Hiya. David is asking, can you give us an idea of your target customer? And we've got lots of clapping coming in for you as well. So thanks for a great presentation.
Thank you for the support with the claps, the virtual claps. It is as good as it gets these days. Anyway, the target customer for Omnis is a metropolitan city person, someone who likes to follow the trends. We'd like to separate the target customer in two groups. The ones that are the taste leaders, we call them. They are the zeitgeists and visionaries, and then we have the dreamers who aspire to be the target of the first group of the customers. So they are usually aged around 25 to 35. They are either work in the creative field or are really into creative things like art, magazines, culture in general. So it's someone who likes the kind of extravaganza of fashion.
Amazing. And I've got another message or another question from Linda here. She said your 10-point manifesto was inspiring. It certainly was. And you talk about the danger of saying yes too much. What was the hardest thing you've ever had to say no to?
I think when starting a business, you have to make choices that are often contradictory financially. So you have to say no to a lot of things personally as a creative, so that you have more time to focus on your business. And it is really a challenge, especially when you still have to pay your rent, pay your bills. So I think finding this balance between what projects could be beneficial for yourself and the brand, and also not spreading yourself too thin and keeping focused, I think would be the biggest challenge.
Great. I think we're going to squeeze in one more question, and let's go with Arturo's. What's the difference between pre-accelerator and after accelerator?
I think pre-accelerator, especially because it was happening as the world was changing, the goals were quite different. So the application for accelerator was in April. So it was like whole COVID situation. I mean, we were in the middle of it, but we were not really sure what the world will look like 12 months later. Whereas now we know for sure that online is the future, and the way to put more focus on your digital presence. So I think the Impact Accelerator was largely trying to polish these aspects of the business and trying to understand what are the weak points and what are the direct things you can do day to day to actually change them, rather than just rely on the future ambitions of what if and the imaginary better future, like more like day-to-day actions of what you can do every day to make a change.
Okay, great. I think we've got 1 minute left, so I'm going to squeeze in a really quick one. What is the most helpful online marketing tool you found?
I think we really find the new Reels and TikTok quite helpful. It drives insane amount of traffic to website, and the presence is just much more friendly for small business, the algorithm. So that's something that I'm really focusing on at the moment, to push the presence of the brand. In other tools, I would say the ads were not as useful for us in terms of like direct return for investment, but one of the reasons might be the budget that was set for it. So that's something we're looking to tackle in the coming months, to increase the budget and work with some agencies to actually try to understand the customer better, the audience better, and it's really a trial and error thing. So yeah, we're gonna work more on that.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for an amazing presentation and for working so hard throughout the whole of Accelerator.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunities.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks so much, Asya. And we'll move on to the next presentation, which is Limco.
Hi, I'm Adria Lee.
And I'm Michelle Lim, and we founded Limco.
At LeanCo, we host co-workshops designed to spark meaningful connections. And through our workshops, we aim to bring disconnected communities together through conversations.
This all started when we felt overwhelmed by the feeling of imposter syndrome and the lack of belonging at networking events. This was often emphasized by the fact that we were the few young female people of color in the room. It could have also been because we were shy, but we found that lots of people felt the exact same way we did.
So as a result, we wanted to create a space that prioritized self-defined success, personal values, and also a place where we could embrace our vulnerabilities in our work lives. So I guess that means being able to talk about things like imposter syndrome, loneliness, and also our mental health. And it's about being able to share with others how we're trying to build fulfilling work lives that also make space for our home lives too. And I guess it's trying to combat the common conversations around hustle, drive, productivity, and the idea that everything is about success, success, and success.
We're creating our own opportunities to meet new people in an environment where we would feel comfortable sharing. That's why our co-workshops focus on connection, conversation, community, and conviviality. They're inspired by the wholesome simplicity of intimate dinners and game nights with friends. We sought out to recreate that same atmosphere, and we want people coming out of our co-workshops to feel inspired and energized by the stories they've heard, as well as a sense of belonging, that you're not alone and everyone is always figuring stuff out.
So we first began by testing within our own communities, and then we started by hosting our first offline workshops with a co-working space at the start of 2020. But that's when the pandemic hit. With physical spaces to meet other people shut, we realized that there was a growing need for intimacy and belonging in our digital spaces. And that's where we saw an opportunity for co-workshops that went beyond networking, because suddenly the whole world was disconnected and students could no longer meet in person and corporate teams all had to work from home.
We reframed and refocused on three main target markets: universities, corporate teams, and co-working spaces. We redesigned our workshops as an online format, created mailers for each of our workshops, and began testing and marketing. During this time, the Creative Accelerator program really helped guide us through these difficult times. We particularly needed guidance on marketing and figuring out our brand story. And what you hear today couldn't have been done without the useful advice and the one-to-one sessions with the CBA speakers. We also needed support on figuring out the logistics and how we could make our workshop onboarding process more streamlined. Our mentor, Anika, advised us and guided us through this as well.
So how do our online co-workshops work? Think of the traditional speed dating format mixed in with conversation cards, creative activities, and of course, drinks. So every participant will receive a mailer box from us with everything that they need for the workshop. And the topics and creative activities usually vary depending on workshop to workshop, but we always use breakout rooms and introspective conversation cards to guide participants. The cards that we provide are often themed around things like your inspirations, your aspirations, personal values, as well as your successes and your failures.
We recently launched our first product, Roots of Your Labor, which are our journaling prompt cards. They also align with our values of prioritizing self-defined success, personal values, and embracing your vulnerabilities. The topics cover reflection questions around your work, your habits, your joys, your worries, and your relationships. They're designed to suit whatever journaling style you have, whether you like to write your thoughts out, or type them out, or talk them out. Our cards are just here to prompt you. And we're currently only stocked on the Drops of Humanity online store.
So like everyone else, we're dying to get back to meeting in person, and we've got tons of offline workshops that we've left on the back burner ready to be brought to life. And we're really excited to see where 2021 will take us and all the new friends we'll meet along the way, whether it's online or offline. And from the audience, we're looking for opportunities to stock our journaling cards in more places. So if there's any shops or retailers that you think might resonate with the product that we make, please feel free to send their names our way. And we're also always looking for new clients to host our co-workshops with. So if you have any connections to universities, co-working spaces, or corporate teams that you think might benefit from our workshops, please don't hesitate to reach out. And that's us. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, both. Great to hear from you. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so if you could put your questions for the team in the, right, we've got one in. Do you feel a Zoom fatigue with your clients, and how do you deal with it? So I know you spend a lot of hours online, don't you? So how do you
I guess one of the main ways we combat Zoom fatigue is by having like smaller breakout rooms where you're just talking to either one or two people. And I think that really helps you feel like you're connecting with another person, as opposed to kind of like being anxious about everyone else that's in the group. And I think once you start meeting people one-on-one on breakout rooms, time goes by really quickly. And we've noticed from a lot of our customers, they say that as well, that the 2 hours or 1.5 hours we spend on the workshop like zooms by.
And I also think that the fact that we have physical objects and physical cards that come alongside our workshop, that's an important aspect that we really like push forward with all of our workshops in order to try to combat Zoom fatigue, so that you're not just constantly looking at a screen, and that you have something tangible and physical that you can hold as you interact with people. So it's not just like you're staring at a computer the entire time.
This could be like a clay making workshop, or it could be like a sewing workshop, just something that is in the box to like get people engaged and like not just staring at a screen and like kind of like twiddling their thumbs.
Okay, thank you. And David asks, so what clients have you worked with, and do you have repeat sessions with them?
So we just started and we've run a couple workshops, and I think our biggest client is UAL. We were able to do some workshops with them with their staff team, so CNE, but also like for the accelerator as well. So I think the two kind of like combinations were interesting, because one is more of like a staff team and the other one was more of like student based. And it really helped us like manage different kind of like client styles, because some were more professional and the others were more like students. So we had to learn how to like manage and kind of gauge the audience we had.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We have a question from Linda. Can you tell us about your relationship as co-founders? This is what I often get asked. We have lots of teams or individuals. Can you tell us, she asked actually, has anything surprised you about your co-founding relationship and how it is running a business?
Has anything surprised us?
I guess like we spent a lot of time together, so I'm really surprised that we're not sick of each other. So I think that's like something that like went really well. Even during lockdown, we were able to like work remotely.
But I also think that it's interesting to see how we've changed and developed, because we both met each other on a graphic communication design program. We met at CSM together on our BA, and I think like we've worked together for like I think 2-3 years together for the right.
Yeah.
And I think over time we kind of realized what our strengths are. I know that Andrea is a lot more better at strategy and kind of like trying to frame whatever like our project or our product for the right customer, and I think I'm really good at I don't know, like a widespread variety of like a jack of all trades and being able to do a little bit of everything. And I think us with those combinations of skills like makes us a good team.
Yeah, and when we got tight deadlines, you kind of need to know like how to attack on all ends and get it done. Yeah.
Perfect team. Okay, great. I think we've got time for one more question. This one from Natalie. Do you find digital or the physical model more successful? I know you had to pivot during COVID, which you've done really successfully, it seems. Something that was very physical to very digital. So how have you changed? How has that felt for you?
I'd say the biggest challenge for digital was figuring out how to have a presence in the Zoom breakout room or the Zoom call, because it's so different from being in a physical room where you can read people's faces and their energies and like just the atmosphere. And I think that took a lot of practice. And in terms of like which one we find more successful for our company, I think digital is definitely more profitable and like logistically easier to run, and there's higher profit margins. But I think physical tends to like I don't know, it's more satisfying for us as creatives, because we're kind of like physical people and we just like being in physical spaces and hosting in that way.
I think also in terms of like creating physical workshops, I feel like we do that more successfully when it comes to like wanting to create that convivial environment where everyone feels like they're together. So I think we're better at facilitating those physical environments. But I do think that in the pandemic, we've kind of entered this niche, and I think we've done that relatively well, because a lot of different a lot of our competitors are often like create really, really huge events for like huge corporate companies, and And that's not something that we do. And I think we specialize in creating like smaller, intimate gatherings between like people.
Okay, thank you. Time's up. There was a few more observations and thoughts in the chat, which you can see. So thank you everyone for contributing to that. And thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. If there was any questions that you ended up not having answered, then do please bring them to the main kind of plenary, and you can perhaps get to repurpose them in the main Q&A at the end. Okay, I think we'll go on to the next presentation now. That's Maker's Cabinet.
Hi, I'm Noah, one of the founders and directors of Maker's Cabinet. Recently, I completed a BA in product design at Central St. Martin's, along with my two business partners, Ben and Odin. We run Maker's Cabinet. Maker's Cabinet design, manufacture and retail high-quality drawing and writing tools that last a lifetime or more. We exist to shape new perspectives and foster joy. We challenge conventions in the pursuit of a new and higher standard. We aim to foster a culture of care and to enable inspiration in everyday moments. Over the last 9 months, a lot in our business has changed. We have rapidly increased our sales in the business through online digital marketing and from the endorsement of influencers like Adam Savage. We have launched our third product, the Stria, an innovative, one-of-a-kind folding ruler with a dovetail hinge. We've also moved into our new studio and workshop, where we're able to prototype and develop products and expedite the development process in-house. Over the past year, we've managed a turnover of over £2 million with a net profit of 15%. Our average order value is just over £90, and we're averaging about 2,000 orders per month. Over 60% of our business is to the United States, with the rest to the UK, Canada, Australia, and to the EU. We currently have about 20 retailers who are making repeat and regular orders for different sized businesses. And we also have an upcoming collaboration with one of the leading stationery retailers. Our community consists of about 26,000 followers on Instagram, 4,000 on Facebook, and about 30,000 email signups. Our plans for the future include creating a full range of drawing and writing tools, and designing and developing a repairable desk lamp. In the medium term, we will look to be going into other sectors, and we want to be designing other products, disrupting markets with products that fit into the circular economy, enabling them to be used for a lifetime and repaired. In the long term, we want to continue this, looking into other sectors too, outside of the home. We even want to start our own production facilities, with the view of one day becoming a B Corp certified business. If you'd like to support us, the best way to do this would be to either purchase one of our products for yourself or for your store, to back our current Kickstarter campaign for the Ferrell Lifetime Pencil Extender, to join our mailing list or following us on Instagram, or to simply connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I hope you have a lovely day and enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Noah. Any questions for Maker's Cabinet, the team there? Hi guys, you can see you there. Hi. Okay, we've got a question from David, who wants to know a little bit more about the repairable desk lamp. You could explain a bit more.
So the repairable desk lamp is it's a lamp that's designed to last 100,000 hours without you ever having to change the bulb. It's got a beautiful ball joint, which lets it articulate. And well, we want it to be a modern day angle poise for the 21st century. It's also going to have components which are interchangeable and repairable, and also fully kind of natural paint finishes, cutting down on any sort of kind of, well, non-natural materials. And it's going to look really good.
Oh, sure it is. Thanks, guys. We've got another question here. Can you explain your approach to crowdfunding? I know you've done several successful ones, actually. How do you, this is often a question I get asked, actually, how do you build lots of interest and momentum pre-funding? Tell us your expertise.
Do you want to answer? Yeah.
So we found that it's quite a long process to build up that momentum. We usually start 8 weeks in advance with the promotion of it. So we sort of plot out a whole series of marketing and promotional activities. So a lot of that is direct consumer. So that's letting our customers know through email marketing, Facebook marketing, starting to sort of have lead gen ads and doing things like that. But then also speaking to publications and getting the word out. And then there's also sort of fostering that community on Kickstarter or other crowdfunding platforms, where you speak to other brands that use Kickstarter and you give support to them, they give support back to you. You rely on your previous communities. And we've really grown it over a period of time. So it's not something that we've done immediately. And I also wanted to add that in the presentation, I'd noted that the Feral had launched, but it's actually been moved back. So if you are interested in it, our upcoming Kickstarter will be next Tuesday.
Amazing. I'm sure we can all check that out. Thanks, guys, and thanks for the insights into crowdfunding. It can often be a tricky path right at the beginning. So next question. What is your main point of sale for your product? So the questionnaire asks here, Natalie asks here, is it your website? Is it retail? Is it wholesale? What's your main one?
So the way we usually sell our products is we first launch them on Kickstarter, then they move to our online store and become available to retailers. About 80% of our business is direct to consumer, and our busiest times are Christmas sort of time. We sell all across the world with the biggest customers in the US, then the UK, then sort of Canada, Australia, other English speaking countries, then the EU. Then the next largest group is probably to direct to consumer on crowdfunding, which is big campaigns once or twice a year. And then the final group is to wholesale, and that makes up probably about 10% of the business.
Okay, great. Let me see, there's one new message came in. Yeah, we've got a couple of questions about manufacturing. Let's go with this most recent one. How did you go from prototype to manufacturing your product? So the first steps, if you'll take us through them.
So at the moment, we look at our market and for our most recent product, we now only have a workshop. So I'm very much into making as a part of the design process. So all our prototypes are made in-house at the moment. And I find that's the best way to kind of figure out where everything should go and kind of figure out the tolerances and get everything working nicely. And then we've also in the past worked with prototyping houses where we'll send off our files to be prototyped in the materials they're going to be made from. And then from that, we move on to our mass manufacturing partner, who's a sourcing agent based out of Shenzhen in China. And we'll go through a pre-production run. Well, we'll first approve a golden sample, go through a pre-production run, and then move on to mass manufacture.
Okay, great. I think we've run out of time. There are a couple more questions here that you can probably see, but if you could readdress them in the main room at the end, and you're also welcome to chat back to the people there as well. Okay, thanks, guys. We'll move on to the next presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, and this is Camilla.
Hello, my name is Camila Quintero. I'm a London-based artist originally from Bogota. I create abstract geometry works, and I am particularly interested in perception, light, color, and the relationship between time and space. Where it all started. A lot of my inspiration comes from nature, especially light. As early as I can remember, I have always been fascinated by it. I remember as a kid visiting my grandparents in the countryside of Colombia and seeing these amazing sunsets. In fact, to this day, I continue doing daily studies and observations of light. When I did my BA in graphic design, I became familiar with the Bauhaus and the Gestalt theory. I was captivated by Kandinsky's work, especially his book Point and Line to Plane. At the time, I was more interested in photography and especially in architectural and atmospheric subjects. When I moved to London, I started to build a body of work of semi-abstract composition as a way of journaling my experiences. And then when I started my MA in visual arts, I became more focused in geometry and began to develop less figurative works and move more to abstraction, inspired by modernism. All these allow me to expand my practice, research, and allow me to continue to build my career as an artist. My works have a three-dimensional quality where I explore perspective, distortion, and deconstruction. They also evoke a sense of spatial discovery and curiosity. I currently offer a range of works, from paintings, limited edition prints, works on metal, sculptures, and works on paper. As Sotheby's art market predicted for this year, there is a greater focus on presenting art in unique and innovative locations outside of the establishment. And saying that, I see exciting opportunities to diversify my work by scaling it, whether in the built environment, public spaces, as installations, technology, and other applied arts as a collaboration. So what do I offer? I offer artworks that have exclusive, long-lasting value as an investment and have potential for diversification. I'm also keen to develop my practice through collaboration. This is one of the most memorable and exciting works I've done. This is a collaboration with Selfridges in 2019. My works have also featured in a number of galleries, such as the Couple Project most recently, in central London, and it has also been auctioned through the Auction Collective and commissioned directly for interiors. My Cva journey. The Cva has helped me to have a better understanding on how to grow and develop my business. Most importantly, throughout the program, I have been able to define my brand alongside my values, my vision, my goals, and to understand my audience as well. I have also been able to convert goals into actions by using tools for specific settings, establishing mechanisms that allow me to expand on communication and marketing strategies, audience engagement, business operation, and product development. The result. I have launched a website that offers a clear insight into my practice. It is also user-friendly as the art market moves and expands online. I have also established a brand for a wider audience, identified my market segments, plan according to specific time frames, and increase my database to reach and establish new relationships. What now? As my practice develops and continues to progress, I'm looking into gallery representation that will help me to forge my career, potential of scalability through collaboration and business growth, build relationships with potential partners, buyers, collectors, and institutions, diversify sales by showcasing my work in multiple channels to generate diverse revenues, and also to grow my sales and connect to a new audience. So I'm asking you today to invest in me as a professional and a reliable art practitioner willing to build a prolific and long-lasting brand and a career through promotion, experimentation, and collaboration. You can learn more about me and my work on my website. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you, Camilla. Yeah, some virtual clapping there on the screen. Anyone got a question for Camilla? I've been sent one actually directly. As an artist, what tips would you give graduates starting out about how to monetize some aspects of their practice as their fine artist?
Well, I think that what is important is that you have to pay yourself first, but also getting the right materials on the right places, trying to look for them, not in the most expensive shops, but looking for different suppliers. to be conscious of how you spend your resources and your time as well.
Okay, that's sage advice. And David asks, are you looking for a gallery to represent you? And if you found one, how would you know it was a good fit for you?
I think that it's very important to have aligned values with the people that you want to work with. So if I got the opportunity to work with a gallery, I look into that. And it's very important that they have artists that are quite similar or not similar in the style, but that they are under the same umbrella.
Okay, that makes
in terms.
Yeah. Thank you. Vasiliki is asking a question now and also giving you a compliment. Your art is beautiful. I agree.
Thank you.
What is your business model and how might it differ from the traditional gallery model?
Because I work on my own, I have to think how I price my pieces. I have to think in the way that I'm gonna invest my resources. But what is more important is how to connect with my audience through different channels and to generate income through those connections. So everything is part of the whole system and the whole program.
Okay, great. We've also got other comments saying that your congrats on your achievements during the program and your website is superb. I know that you've been working on your website recently. How have you used that to gain more kind of contacts and get more sales perhaps?
Well, actually, I just recently launched my website. It's been an interesting experience because I didn't want just a portfolio, but I wanted to be a place for people to come and learn more about me and about my work as well. I think I'm going to be opening a gift shop as well, but for direct sales for artworks, I will do that directly with the customers or with the galleries.
Great. And Natalie is asking, do you ever participate in art fairs and do you think they're successful, perhaps compared to galleries and online sales for you?
I am willing to participate in art fairs. There are some for artists and some for galleries, mainly for galleries. So you have to join through a gallery with them. Sometimes that's not the easiest way, but there are others like the other art fair that are for artists, so you can apply to those. I haven't done it yet. I did Top Drawer with UAL last year, I think, and that was a great opportunity to get to know people and understand how these kind of events work. But I think, yeah, I would love to participate on that as well.
Great. And Vasiliki is asking, have you considered gift and jewelry as an obvious revenue stream after your example in the pack?
Yes, this is something I have always considered, but I will have to do it through collaboration because if I do it, I want to offer the best quality, the best materials as well, and to make sure that the customers receive the best of the product. But these were things that I did in the process of creating the brand as well. So, yeah.
Great. Well, that's all we've got time for now with you, Camilla. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and see you in the main room. But now we'll go on to the next person, which is the Super Sparrow.
So I'm Lily Mandarano. I'm the designer maker behind the Super Sparrow ceramics, which I started up in 2017. I studied fine art at Central St. Martin's and then started playing around with clay. After that is how I sort of got interested in ceramics. And I think these bowls kind of illustrate the aesthetic of what I make. They're sort of modern rustic. I like leaving maker's mark. on some of my pieces. So I want each of them to be a bit individual. I like making pieces that are used every day and series of work so that the difference of each piece is kind of apparent as I'm making. And I quite like making functional wear that people sort of become part of their everyday rituals. At the moment, I sell through markets, through wholesale, through Etsy, my own website, and classes that I hold in the studio. But going forward, I really want to focus and drive sales through my website directly and classes. So I want the others to feature a lot less in my business model going forward. I still juggle a few things, so I'm still an NHS nurse, work part-time doing that. So I feel like I have to really clarify my time and my skills. And I've learned through this process of doing the CBA that delegating tasks that I don't need to learn about is probably in my best interest, so that I can really focus on the making and driving the business where I want it to go. And I've also thought a lot about developing my own skills within ceramics with glazing or different techniques, so I can expand the range and be more experimental in my making. So I'm looking to apply for funding to do that. The CBA has also helped me, I think, in 4 main ways. Understanding my finances and pricing up my pieces, and also pricing up my time, which can be difficult for artists, I think. That's been really useful for me and some really good tools to help me work on that. Branding as well, is thinking about storytelling and building a cohesive brand that is consistent, I think has been really important. And although I haven't implemented all of the things I've learned, they're sort of there for me to go through and develop in my own time now. And talking of time, time management has been a big thing, and sort of clumping time. So putting time aside for the non-making tasks so that I'm more efficient with that, and it sort of makes a lot more sense. And also through chats with my mentor is to remember about play and experimentation and being playful with the material, to make sure that I'm still interested in what I'm doing and I'm pushing myself all the time and making new work, really. In terms of growth for the business, I want the business to be financially viable, but I still want to be the main maker. I don't want it to grow to the point where I feel distance from it. I still enjoy the process of making and want to sort of drive that forward. But I would like to maybe take on an apprentice or studio helpers in future. But I sort of, want it to grow and be financially viable, but still want to keep it very personal. So in terms of my ask and what I'd like really is to push forward my storytelling and having a dialogue with my customers and sort of build that relationship and help them to understand me and who I am and why I make and what's important to me as a brand. And also the imagery is, I'd really like to have some video of me making in the space, talking a little bit about that alongside written sort of storytelling. So if there's someone who can offer, say, a videographer, someone who'd like to work with photography or visiting people in the studio or writing about makers and highlighting them, then that's sort of what I'm looking for, is to sort of build the cohesive brand at this stage. So it's just wondering whether you've got something that you think you can bring to the table for the Super Sparrow Ceramics. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Lily. That's great. And we've got some questions coming in straight away. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for adding the claps. Okay, David, do you have a vision for your practice? Do you want to go full time with it?
I'd love to go full time with it. I feel like there needs to be a reliable income in order for me to do that. So that's part of the strategy of having classes, is to be able, if I know that I can fill the classes regularly, then I know I can sort of depend on that as income, and then the selling is kind of in addition to it. But yes, I'd love to go full time.
Great. Harry's saying, what a beautiful presentation. Lovely. Can you tell us about any specific tips you've learned about balancing time and the effort? Obviously, you've got to juggle your nursing work as well. So any tips for anyone that has to do 2 jobs at once, or even more than 2 jobs at once?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say what I tend to do now is I tend to do my NHS work in one full week, and I do long days, and that's all I'm doing that week. Okay, when you have your own business, you're always entering little bits and doing little pieces, but I tend to mainly focus on one thing. So I'd say either do one thing for a week, or do one thing for those 1 or 2 days that you're doing it, and then completely switch your head over to the other side of what you're doing, either your creative business. So that has worked for me. Is I don't dip into the other thing very much when I'm doing one thing. So if I'm doing NHS, that's what I'm doing. If I'm doing my business, that's what I'm doing.
Okay, that makes total sense. So let's run down more of the questions. What's the most successful social media channel for you to connect with your audience?
Instagram on the whole is where I've had most of everything come through. I've had a few customers through what's that one, Pinterest, but mainly Instagram. But I must say, whatever has happened to the algorithm lately, it's all gone a bit funky. But for the most part, Instagram seems to work and is quite a nice community.
Great. And then Paige asks, were you working whilst on the course, which you've answered already, but she also asks, is it full or part-time? How is it possible to juggle both? So do you want to talk specifically about how much time you had to give the accelerator for anyone that's asking?
Yeah, so we did about 2.5 hours once a week, and then it was setting some time aside. So I tend to have like an admin accounting day on Friday. So it was catching up then with things that we talked about in the accelerator. And really, you can spend as much or as little time working on the things that come up in the accelerator. There's some really great tools. There's really good advice. There's things to really spark your imagination. And it is just being a little bit strict and saying, if this is an admin day, then that's all it is. Or if this is a day working, that's all it is. And sort of, but I found there's obviously the time that we did the classes, but then I like to set another half day or so aside to sort of think about the things that we discussed and try to implement things. That's the key.
Yes, yeah, just to make sure that Paige understands. Yeah, it's definitely a part-time course, so lots of people running their business obviously at the same time and might have to do a part-time job as well, but setting aside a full day or 1.5 to 2 days a week is what people did for over 6 months. Okay, a couple more questions I think we can squeeze in. People asking about your classes. Are they going to start soon, seeing as we can all meet soon?
Yeah, so there's if you join up to the mailing list, there's a letter going out this evening actually at 7 to say that I've put 4 new dates out, and then I'm going to release dates a bit later on in the month just to test the waters a little bit. So there's 4 classes coming out on the Saturday, and then as people warm up and get a little bit more confident with going out again, then I'll start doing 1 in the week and then 1 on the weekend.
Great. Excuse me. Looks like you've got lots of takers for your classes actually, so people say they're interested. So yes, perhaps you can go straight away and sign up to Lily's newsletter, and you'll get told about them. What else? There's one up here. David asked, do you have any shows and exhibitions in mind coming up?
No, but it is something that I suppose, it's funny because when I did my art degree, I didn't do ceramics at all. And I was doing installation and video animation sort of thing. So I was much geared towards exhibitions, and then I got caught up doing functional wear, but I'm starting to experiment a little bit with something that sits between functional and art pieces and something a little weirder, which I quite like. So I think there'll be the opportunity to show maybe with some of the new work that I'm having a play with at the moment. And also to think that functional pieces can also be in exhibitions. I have to sort of remind myself a little bit that the idea is that they're lovely pieces in and of themselves, and they kind of tell the story in and of themselves.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, let's squeeze in one more question. If you can answer it relatively quickly. How do you think what's the point that differentiates your business from other ceramic brands? Or USP, I should say.
I think the ethos really for me is that good design doesn't need to be stuffy. So I sort of think you can have something that feels relaxed and natural and not have really sharp, perfect lines and still have really good quality, and something that is designed really well, that works really well. And so it's somewhere between everyday relaxed and something beautiful that has been made with and is a quality piece.
Great. I think we'll round up there. There is someone asking if they can sign up to a newsletter, and perhaps you could put that in the link in the chat in a second. Because it looks like, oh, there you go. There's the website where everyone can find out. And if you want to find out about anyone else's websites afterwards, we can put the links in the chats too, or the businesses that are kind of have presented your, if you like to put your handles in the chat now, you can as well, just so people can make sure they're following you, etc., etc. Okay, thanks, Lily. And we're on to the last presentation for this session, which is Ellen Rock.
I wanted to take you through now my plans for the future and where I'm currently at and what I'm working on now. So this is the map that I showed previously. Some of you might have received it in the post, and it's kind of an illustrated story of where I'm going. So the Ellen Rock purpose and mission is to create print stories which narrate a collaborative voice. I also identify as an advocate for handcrafted processes. The brand story includes the words of global pursuit, collaboration, empowering, positive global change, and the ability to build communities together. The current projects I'm working on are an installation for Fashion Open Studio, in which I'm a featured designer, a pop-up shop that I'm curating in spring and summer, and also my first shoppable women's wear and accessories collection with my artisan partner in Nepal, JWDC. The products and services that the brand offers are as follows. And the services that I offer are creative consultancy, project-based commissions, and custom workshops, all in which I hope will build a long-term Ellen Rock community. So the Impact of Accelerator. The Impact of Accelerator has really accelerated my growth, and I've really seen the development in myself in terms of being able to hire my first team members, utilising OKRs for measurable results, and accelerating and pushing myself to open and curate a pop-up shop. The weekly talks definitely inspired me and got me to focus and hone in on different parts of the business. So what do I need at this stage of growth? I'm looking for seed funding in order to develop existing global connections and artisan products. I'm looking for financial and structural support in business and revenue locally in order to sustain these global connections. And I'm also looking for commercial leads on larger print projects, which will also help fund this global expansion. So my yearly plans. I've already hit my first year plan, which is international collaboration for commercial sale and opening a pop-up shop, which is really exciting. Next year, I want to expand to focusing on the print licensing part of the business, which will enable me to expand more globally. Third year, I want to upscale production. Fourth year, I want to evolve into a globally recognized print designer and artist with a permanent shop space and gallery space. And in 5 years' time and in long term, I want to have established into a lifestyle and community brand and be supporting over 10 artisan communities sustainably. So my focus words for my long-term plan are expanding, having a recognizable aesthetic, becoming culturally relevant and reinventing the norm, being widely exhibited both locally and globally, having a loyal and high profile in terms of brand representation, and meeting demand, which will hopefully be high. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation and exploring this journey with me. And I want to say a huge thank you to the UAL Accelerator team and my mentors, Ellie and Anika, and of course, all of the keynote speakers and the other businesses for our collective growth. You can contact me on the following, ellenrock.com, and I would love to hear from you and invite you to the pop-up shop in the summer. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ellen. Amazing. Lovely, colourful presentation as always. Okay, let's go in with the first question. I think Frances got in there first. Let me scroll up. Let me see. She says, love the evolution. What's the holy grail in terms of collaboration? What's the ideal person you'd like to collaborate with? Or group, I guess.
Thank you, Frances. I think for me, the perfect kind of collaboration would be a simultaneous one where I'm using my position in terms of my network and commercially in terms of creating like a recognizable print aesthetic, but in turn that is also feeding into collaborative products which are then available through the artisan groups. So this is something I'm exploring at the moment through my latest collaboration, where I've created the hand-rendered accessories which are made in Nepal at the centre, and at the same time I'm trying to make a licensing package in which I can also elevate that collaboration to commercial partners such as interior and fashion, luxury fashion firms.
Amazing, thank you. We've had a question, what does a typical day look like for you? So what does it look like for you? Designing a business, how is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've struggled a lot with my time management, and I feel like that's something I've really worked upon on the program. I think getting the stability of having a local base in order to deliver these projects globally was something that maybe I didn't implement at the beginning, and now I've started to implement that. My typical day is kind of beginning of the day emails. I like to connect personally with my network, so that's kind of probably having a couple of conversations about collaborations, and then kind of devising community projects such as workshops as well, I would say.
Great. We've got a couple of questions about your social impact or the social enterprise model. So let's go with David. So he says, I love your combination of creative and social impact. How do you measure the social impact of what you do?
Thank you, David. So it started through a process of learning. I think at the beginning it was about having an outcome, having a collection to showcase that collaboration. And then I launched a Kickstarter campaign in which it was about delivering deliverables. So it was about delivering a documentary, working with the local communities, asking them what they needed, what skills they were perhaps missing, and kind of I tailored a workshop program in Guatemala to deliver those. And I think as I've grown and got more experience and worked with the British Council on the Crafting Futures program, now I've kind of got a dialogue with the centre I'm working with at the moment in Nepal. So I measure it by asking the centre regularly, maybe every week or couple of weeks, what's your goal? And kind of, I guess, the OKRs and that information has helped me replicate that. So yeah, working on objectives and key results with the artisan partners in line with what their vision is. So just to add so quickly for the shop, the Janakpur Women's Development Centre's goal is to promote their artwork. So I'm having like a little feature wall of their Mathila art alongside my products in which I've collaborated with them, which are more fashion and textiles. But I'm definitely working on it, and I think that's an area that maybe I could do with expanding or maybe learning more about as well. Yeah. Great.
And just to extend the interest in your social enterprise approach, was Linda asked, is that the natural choice for you?
Yeah, I mean, all through London College of Fashion, I studied print, and I was always like, for my final collection, I was contacting some women's groups in Kenya. I won the competition when I graduated London College of Fashion to go to Indonesia to work on the modest wear collaboration with Dian Pelangi, and that's definitely something that clicked with me, that this is what I want to do. I want to make a global impact through my craft. So yeah, but it's always been at the heart of what I do, and definitely a very female-centric story in my own personal life, and also in what I want to kind of deliver for.
Great. And David comments here, David is from Cockpit Arts, so I can link you two together. He's talking about the social impact side, and he'd be happy to work with you on that.
Oh, that would be incredible. Thank you.
I'd just like to ask one last question. Anika's gone on to say, congrats, Ellen, so excited for you and your journey. And she was one of your mentors, and you mentioned another mentor as well. Can you talk about the mentoring as part of CBA and how that's helped you?
Yeah, of course. It was it was absolutely incredible. Like, I think having all of the keynote talks kind of aligned the business into it, compartmentalized the business, and then having Anika and Ellie's input was incredible. Like, Anika and I spoke about the ideas and how to make them manageable over a 90-day plan. And Ellie and I have been tackling the marketing strategy. And it was actually like through their mentorship that I had the confidence to then hire press and PR interns, which is how that video came about. And also just how I found that previously I was spending a lot of time on the ground delivering the project, that then it wasn't going outward. It wasn't having like the maximum impact. So I think that I've really gained confidence working with Anika and Ellie. And I just wanted to add that I did put the link of the Eventbrite to the pop-up shop, which is on the 22nd of April. So if anyone wants to book a slot, I'd love to show you around. And yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you for the programme and everything.
Great, thank you. And that's a lovely note to end on. So thank you, Ellen.
Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm Vicky Fabry. I'm the Enterprise and Events Manager at Careers and Employability. I work with Emma, who leads very much on the Accelerator programme. I'm really excited to have you in room 2 with us today. First up today, we've got Lizzie Reed from Lizzie Lines, and I'm going to get her to start with a video presentation.
Hello everybody, how are you doing? My name's Lizzie Reed, also known as Lizzie's Lines, and my practice involves conceptual illustration, poetry, workshop facilitation and campaign design. Everything I produce is built upon conversations, be it internal or with communities, referencing cultural context and psychology, specifically looking at our relationships with self and our perceptions of self. My main tool is self-reflection, which I use in order to help us engage more with our subconscious minds so that we can focus on creating fulfilling and truly sustainable lives and careers in general. My vision is to build the go-to self-reflection platform so that we can hold space for people to build on their relationships with self. But firstly, my mission is to normalize conversations about the power of self-knowledge. My latest campaign, which is the Sustainable Self-Love campaign, which was a collaboration between myself and Cassoni, which is a luxury, natural, sustainable hair care brand founded by 2 amazing women of colour. We designed the product packaging as well as did content creation around the subject, looking at how we can unpack this conversation of self-love, looking at the individual journeys within it, and doing things like self-reflection activities, as well as offering resources. In the bottom right, you'll see there's Cva, who's leading a conversation with 4 yogis from across America, including Hawaii and in Jamaica, making it my first international campaign. The other side of my practice is my workshop design, and I've been developing a series based on aligning your practice with yourself, making sure that your creative practice is representative of you as a person so that they can be as sustainable and fulfilling as possible, using, again, self-knowledge work and perception work. By the time we're watching this video, I would have just done the expectation management workshop, but at the end of the month, I've got one coming up with the Barbican, all about reflecting on yourself as an artist and looking at our distractions with real creative futures digital as well. So if you know of anyone who'd be interested in those, send them to my website. In terms of the Creative Business Accelerator, it truly gave me the space, time, and financial support to redirect my business at a really crucial point of time last year. I set out these goals and managed to achieve most of them, including making illustration my main source of income, making sure that my message and my purpose is incorporated into my Lizzie's Lines branding in an authentic way, and using that to direct the campaigns that I then work on for good social causes, learning to strategize and secure large goals, as well as, most importantly, building a network of friends who are in similar business positions to me, which is invaluable. In terms of products and prints getting in stock with stockists, that hasn't happened as of yet, but I've been in touch with the Collaborative store and most recently the Electric Gallery. So we will see where that leads this year. In terms of the future, I really want to work more on research-based projects and get my work off paper and into 3D creations. A dream of mine would be to do a furniture collaboration and research project with Habitat, looking at how our physical space, object, and position affects thought patterns. In terms of campaigns, I would love to work on more public artwork for reflection, using like wayfinding, murals, installation work, and venue takeovers. Particularly interested in working with Tate Modern and Adidas on that. And in October, it's Lupus Awareness Month, and lupus is an autoimmune disease which affects predominantly women of colour, including myself. So I would love to design a campaign around that. And more of a long-term goal would be to write a book with one of my favourite publishers listed there. In terms of where we go from here, I would love if any of you have any advice that you're willing to share with me on gallery representation, stockists, product selling, and writing. I'd be so grateful. And if anyone has popped into your mind from your networks as I've been talking through what I do, I would love if you could introduce us, or even if that person is yourself, I would love to have a bigger conversation about where we could go. And you can also start your own Lizzie's Lines collection for your home and head to my shop, which is on my website. Follow me on Instagram for the latest, and stay in touch by email, which is the closest we can get at the moment. So please do drop me a line, and I'd love to support whatever you're doing and up to in return. Okay, hope you enjoy the rest of demo day. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you, Lizzie. That was great. And Lizzie's going to be joining us. Yeah, Lizzie's on screen now, so we've got Lizzie up. And just a comment here from one of the audience said that they love the story element side to your work. And just to reiterate, as people will have noticed, there will have been an opportunity for Lizzie's kind of asked about things that she's interested in the audience being involved in terms of her project. So if that matches anything, do feel to ask a question now, but you can also contact Lizzie directly if that kind of fits the bill for you, and that's the same with any of the businesses we've got here. I've had a couple of questions direct messaged to me, so I'm gonna start with asking them. We've just got a few minutes. So one of the questions said, can you explain a bit more about how the Creative Business Accelerator helped you refocus your branding?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for coming today. The Creative Business Accelerator really supported my branding move, mainly because it gave me the time to be able to literally focus and hone in on what it is that I wanted to do and how I wanted to present myself. The time being supported by the grant that we all received, meaning I didn't have to keep, working 100 jobs at once. And getting confused in my own perception of what I wanted to achieve. And throughout I think it was the first 3 sessions with Creative Business Accelerator, we had Ansel come on, and Ansel Neckles, and he is incredible and just absolutely saw straight through what I'm trying to do. And when we had the one-to-one afterwards as well, like I literally cried when we were talking because he just got it and gave me some great advice in terms of my website design, in terms of how I communicate with audiences and things like that. But and even before that, working with Ellen on our visions and things was really helpful in order to see, like, okay, what is it that I do love doing and what is it that I don't, and being able to combine those with my themes that I'm interested in, being psychology and self-reflection.
Amazing. And that's great that you started crying as a result of such a great conversation around branding. Yeah. And it's true, branding is personal, but branding, if it gets to the core of what you are, it is personal. Great, thank you for sharing that. And I've got one more question here that I'm going to ask. Someone says, I'm intrigued about the poetry element of your business. Can you explain a bit more how it fits into your business?
So I started writing poetry before I found what it was that I wanted to do or how I wanted to present. I find it a little bit difficult to call it a style, but some people may refer to it as a style. So before I found my style, poetry was just a means of accessing the subconscious in a way that I couldn't do through logical language or through literal depiction through art. So what I found was that there's this part of our brains called the limbic system, and it deals with all of our emotions and things like that, but it doesn't communicate very well with the language side of our brain. So what we tend to do when we're describing big intangible topics is we use metaphor and analogy to describe what we're feeling, because we can never literally explain the formula of what we're feeling because of that difficulty that it has. So poetry was a perfect way to describe how I was feeling, get that out onto paper, and then either respond to it through art afterwards, or maybe an art piece comes first and then all of a sudden a poem just arrives. So it's definitely part of my practice.
Amazing. And you have got such a multi kind of formatted approach to everything you do. It's just amazing how all those things can interlink. Do we have any more questions? I think we've got one minute left, but I think we're pretty much out of time anyway. So that was great. Thank you so much, Lizzie. And again, if you've got more questions now that you guys have the chance to ponder a bit more about it, you can join in the main room. And if you've got any questions, you can pose them then. So thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you.
Great. Next up is Jawa Marishan, who's going to be presenting his video for you all, and then he'll be doing Q&A afterwards. So can we get the presentation from Jawa up?
Hi, I'm João Marasquim and I'm a Brazilian fashion designer based in London. I started my brand after graduating from the Masters at London College of Fashion. My main motivation was never to create the next thing, but to redesign the systems that we are part of and think of fashion as a discipline to promote and to foster positive change. I'm driven by the idea of being a traveler through the stories I create with people. I'm inspired by traditional craftsmanship and Brazilian handmade techniques, but my work also celebrates aging, and putting older women at the center of my practice is really important to me, not only in a consumer perspective, but pretty much when I work with the artisans and the communities in Brazil, Senegal, and in the UK. Most of the artisans are older than 70 years old, and it's really important to me to think of them as professionals that still want to be part of the field and bring them back to fruition through my practice. As I said, then I work a lot with older artisans, often in marginalized conditions, to give renewed value to their practices and help them protect their communities and preserve their craft. In this picture specifically, you can see on the left-hand side, Stella, one of the artisans in one of the creative hubs that we created in Brazil, and working on the jumpsuit that was presented for our debut collection, The Foreigner Traveler, where you can see the model Vanessa wearing on the right-hand side, which is a piece that is completely handmade and took more than 45 days to be finished and to be done in an effort that was done by many artisans together and myself. I'm also involved with educational projects to pass down handmade skills to younger generations, as much as to promote learning of circular models like recycling and upcycling. So in this picture, you can see the process of silk, of recovering waste silk and turning into very luxurious products. So Vanessa on the left-hand side, the model, she's wearing a jumper in green and off-white that is actually born from that process that you can witness on the right-hand side. She's also wearing a pair of trousers made from fish wire that was recovered from the coast in Brazil, and we basically knitted new pieces from that material and brought into a very luxurious context within the collection of the brand. I only work with recycled and organic materials, but also am very committed to upcycle unusual materials into sophisticated products. In this example, you can see a pair of trousers that was made from inner tube from bike tires that I collected through pandemic from various different bike shops in London, and with the artisans we turned that into a very fine yarn and then knitted some of the pieces that are part of the second collection called Thrift Fiction. We also engage with new responsible discoveries in raw materials like the leaf leather and try to be as aware of our environmental impact as possible. Here you can see this plant that was turned into this material that is completely biodegradable and vegan, so it can be easily disposed in nature and also upcycled and recycled into new products. It's a vegan leather that performs exactly like leather, but there's no harm in the process of manufacturing to nature or to the environment. The Creative Business Accelerator was a valuable and incredible contribution to solidify the foundation of my business, and it was a great opportunity to learn from experts in the field, as much as a space to share with very talented people. Our market research shows that there is a large interest for more sustainable practices in fashion, as well as for products that are born from respectful practices and responsible sources. In order to keep developing my creative vision and promoting and fostering positive impact, we need your support. We are looking for investment opportunities, as well as for people that share similar values to us and would like to collaborate and be part of the journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jowa. Thank you. Jowa's on screen, brilliant. We've got a few questions. Any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I've got a couple of questions coming up. Thank you so much for that. It was great to hear about the business and how the program's been for you. I'll get started on the questions. One question, can you say a bit more about your marketing strategy and your routes to market?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be able to be part of this group and share my work with everybody. So in terms of the market and in terms of the routes for the product, I identified through my master's that fashion very often just looks at a very youth sort of context and very youth sort of not only market and consumers, but pretty much the workforce is very much around certain ages. So one of the things that I wanted to do with my practice was really to go against the idea and produce a product that was perhaps for a woman that is more mature, and also bringing back to fruition artisans over 70 years old that were perhaps left behind by the system, but hold amazing skills and still want to be part of the game, still want to be part of the industry. So that was the opportunity to bring together all of those two ideas and be part of that journey.
Brilliant. And we've got a couple of good comments as well here in the chat. One, I love your design, photography and materials, amazing. Another one saying, love this project, think there could be a collaboration with Lizzie. As a backstory to product-based businesses is a key success. And yeah, Anika, who's part of the program, she just says, congratulations, your focus on sustainability and inclusion of women at latter stages is truly inspiring and game-changing. But I've got one more question here. How many creatives do you typically collaborate with per collection?
It really depends. One of the things I also like to do is not to sort of work on collaborations for one-off collaboration, let's say in one collection alone, but pretty much sort of like whatever collaboration comes to the picture, it becomes almost kind of like a long-term sort of partnership. So for instance, I'm at the moment developing my third collection, and all of the collaborations I did in the first and the second collections, they continue. So it's almost like a collective learning sort of experience where we don't just work on one product or on one project alone, but we pretty much hone our skills together, and we keep making the effort as a group, as a collective, as a community, and therefore the products just become even more and more greater and interesting because we're spending time together and we're getting to know each other even more in depth.
Brilliant. We've got, I think, got time for one more question. I've got another one here. What did you find to be the most useful tool or advice from your time in the Creative Business Accelerator?
I think it's really to sort of, as a one person business, we have to wear different hats throughout the day, throughout the collections, throughout the projects we get involved with, and sometimes you want to say many yeses, and you end up doing that. But then you don't have the structure perhaps to sort of allocate.
Oh, I think we've Joe's frozen temporarily. Is that the same for other people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Joe's frozen. we were almost coming to the end of his section anyway, so I think what we'll do is move on, and if there's any more questions, he can answer those in the main room. So we're going to get on with the next presentation, which is by Jen and Ben from Modern Synthesis. So if we can get their presentation up and ready, that would be great. Okay, and hopefully when Joel comes back, he can turn off camera and mute. All right.
Hi, I'm Jen Keane. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Modern Synthesis, and here with me presenting is Ben Reeve, my co-founder and our CTO. We're Modern Synthesis. Our motto is evolution in the making, because that's literally what we're trying to do, is evolve the way that we make, specifically by connecting the dots between biology, material science, and design to develop really progressive new materials for the fashion industry. Our first technology, which we call microbial weaving, is a biofabrication process, which means that we're actually growing a material using a microbe, in our case, a bacteria. We create a yarn scaffold using automated fiber placement, which then the bacteria grow in and around to create this hybrid composite material, which is adaptable for many different applications. This is what it looks like when it's wet. And then it dries into this lightweight, semi-transparent material where you can see the pattern of the structure of yarns that we create during our scaffolding process. As a designer, this is incredibly exciting because you can create patterns that literally wouldn't exist otherwise, and you can design to shape, also in tailoring potential material properties for strength and stiffness. As we look towards the future, we're looking to go even a step further with synthetic biology, which is Ben's background. This is an early collaboration we did last year with Imperial College, where the bacteria has been genetically engineered to produce melanin, which is a black pigment found in our skin and hair. This is incredibly exciting, not just from a scientific perspective, but in the future potential to reduce process steps, including dye waste, and also gives us the opportunity to create materials that are completely different than the materials that we have today, rather than just a drop-in replacement.
So we're really excited about this bacteria and this patented technology because of these capabilities, as Jen said, to be able to get really strong materials. And so the bacteria naturally grow these really strong kind of leather-like materials. And they also grow this very efficiently, and so they can potentially grow on food waste, and so they can be very energy intensive and very kind of CO2 emission intensive. And these bacteria grow very fast, and so they can potentially be very scalable for these materials. And also we have this novel aesthetic, these engineered patterns that mean we can get these sorts of looks and feels that weren't previously possible. And so this was Jen's MA project at CSM, initially developing this technology, and she made this prototype shoe that you can see here that was exhibited very widely. From that, she collaborated with Imperial College. She was a resident at the Mills Fabrica in Hong Kong, and then at Bolt Threads out in California, and then came back to the UK. I joined, and we're very honoured to be part of the UAL Creative Business Accelerator. And for there, we had 9 months of really kind of figuring out our business model and our strategy. And so in this time, excuse me, we really worked on, how are we going to deploy these materials? How are we going to get them out into the world? And working with mentors and with the teachers on the course, we decided on this kind of strategy where we would initially develop these partnerships with brands, and then also build up our own brand in order to have some D2C kind of side projects to showcase the materials, and then ultimately be a material supplier to big fashion brands. Once we had this strategy together, we could then go out to investors. And so I'm pleased to say we've just closed our pre-seed round of 300K with a US venture capital firm, some EU family offices and angels. And so with that strategy and that money, we were able to get back in the lab and get growing. So we're now making these materials at our labs underneath Somerset House. And we're comparing them against these other kind of rival leather-like materials. And we were also able to expand our team. So it was just Jen and I, and we're now a team of 7. And we have a leading panel of scientific advisors as well, and are bringing on some business advisors at the moment.
Now we've been shifting focus to focus on partnerships. So really, how, again, do we get these materials out in the world as quickly, widely, and responsibly as possible? And we can only do that by working together. So right now we're looking for partners to help us benchmark our materials against other materials and really focus our next stage development work. Also to help us can build traction in the market and drive the conversation around these materials and where we want this future to go. At the moment, we're looking for mentorship, specifically in helping us refine our brand and our messaging, develop our partnership and potential D2C brand strategy. We're also looking for luxury R&D partners, so brands in this space to help us develop in that area, as well as sustainability experts to help us measure our impact. Lastly, Ben mentioned we just closed our pre-seed round, so we're not fundraising at the moment, but we will be raising a seed round towards the end of this year. So if that's something you're interested in, being the first to hear about, please do definitely get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. If you want to join us back on the screen so we can do the Q&A with you. Yes, Ben and Jen. Yep, great. So thank you both. We've got a few questions. Lots of congratulations going on in the chat. You know, obviously getting that funding has been great, as well as just all that you've achieved over this last 9 months. So well done. Yeah, well done for all that. It was really great to hear. I've got a few questions that we'll quickly get through just while we've got this short bit of time. One question here just says, can you say a bit more about the mentoring relationships you want going forward? So you mentioned in the presentation about wanting to kind of continue with mentoring. Can you say a bit more about what you want from that and the relationship? I think you're muted, Jen.
We can't hear you, Jen.
Oh, actually, oh, you're non-audible for some reason. Have you got headphones in, or maybe, yeah, unlock? Or if Ben, if you want to answer for the time being.
I can chip in, yeah. I think we're very flexible, definitely, and so we've hugely benefited from kind of some of the mentors from UAL, and yeah, we've been really on a bit of a campaign recently to try and like pester some business leaders in our space to try and like get their advice on some different things, which has been really interesting. But we'd love to sort of, yeah, we're trying to kind of build a bit of an advisory board, and so have a few formal advisors kind of on that advisory board who can help us with the business growing forwards, particularly in the area that Jen mentioned. But then also any kind of informal, yeah, others in the network, we'd love to chat.
Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Just yeah, adding on to Ben's point, like we've had really great interactions over the last months, and now kind of have some great expertise on the scientific side and some of the business side and the biotech, which was what we really needed as well. But I think now we also want more expertise actually in the fashion side, specifically, like I said, luxury would be really helpful for us, because one of the biggest challenges that we have as a material company in a very new space is owning that conversation around what these materials are and kind of helping the end consumer understand them and appreciate them, because they are more expensive, they're new, they're brand new, but how do we drive that conversation? So anyone that can help us do that, we'd be very happy to speak to.
Brilliant. Have a question here from the chat as well, asking about, is the material biodegradable?
Yes, 100% biodegradable. We're again working on sustainability. Mentor and sustainability is great. Use all the help we can get. I think going forward, we're hoping to be fully compostable, or at least completely circular, recyclable, but it's cellulose, so it's the same as like paper or cotton.
Amazing. Yeah. Another question here, someone says, could you say a bit more about building the team? How did you go about it, and what did you learn so far? So you've grown obviously quite heavily. Yeah, how's that worked?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, excuse the pun, but we've grown very organically, I would say. I think we had to grow quickly over the last few months to just get up and running, because it takes a lot of people to build a lab and sort of staff that. And we have a very cross-functional team. So we've got a group of scientists. We've got a senior scientist out of Tom Ellis lab where Ben did his PhD. We've got a lab technician, and we've got Alice Potts, who's also on the creative side. So she's another biomaterial designer, and another designer Andreas more on sort of the system design. So in building that team, the idea was to have a really cross-functional group of backgrounds and ideas, because now sort of transitioning from idea stage into company, we need to be able to look at the problem from lots of different angles and also look at holistically scaling and industry. And I think having all those different people in the room is incredibly important. We're actually hiring one more now. Actually, we should put that announcement, a bioprocess scientist focused on building out sort of those biomanufacturing processes. So if anyone knows anyone who's interested in getting in this space, definitely pass them our way. Again, hiring quickly again. So get in touch quickly. We're looking to start interviews in the next week or two for that. So
amazing, brilliant, thank you. Yeah, and we've got one last question I think we can squeeze in. Someone said, from your fast expanding business, what were the most useful things you've learned from the Creative Business Accelerator to support that?
For me,
go first? Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I think the kind of branding side as well, and coming from more of the technical side, like understanding, the value of that brand and how to sort of explain the technology and the importance of the storytelling around that, I think was really really key. And also the community of like we said, the mentors and facilitators and kind of other, the amazing other kind of startups and creatives on the program. Like the peer group has been really, really valuable.
Definitely. I think all the little stuff actually of just like asking the group of how do we sort out accounting, like basic of like business finances, like little like where do I go for this, how do I do this cheaply in that community is just like hugely valuable at the stage that we're at.
Amazing. Thank you guys for sharing. There'll be more chance for Q&A at the end when we all go back to the main room. But next up we've got Callum Simmons.
Thank you for being here today, everybody. I'm happy and excited to share my creations with you, and I hope everyone's well, and I hope you'll enjoy my slideshow. So to put a face to my voice, this is me. Hello. I'm a full-time artist working within the fields of street art, geometry, illustration, and kinetic art. I'm passionate about exploring physically made art, and most recently working a lot on hard-edge paintings containing vibrant, vivid colours. For the past year and a half, I've been a full-time freelancer, making my living through my online presence, my network of clients, and my reputation within my city and within London. I'm constantly trying to evolve my work and find new mediums to express myself and improve my craft through each piece that I make. I know I've got a long way to go to get where I want to be and a lot to learn, but I'm open to the possibilities and the time it will take for me to get there. So firstly, this is an example of my recent paintings on paper made with ink, brush and compass. Recently I've been getting quite a lot of commissions for this kind of work, selling these paintings for affordable prices to mostly young people in Manchester, but also in several other cities around the world. I see each piece as kind of a smaller practice for the future, where I'll be transforming them into larger versions on canvas. So each one is just kind of a stepping stone to get to where I want to be visually, but still a long way to go. So moving on to my kinetic work, I call these pieces physical lenticulars, all made by hand in my studio. The perspective changes with the movement of the viewer. Each one takes a lot of work, and it's basically a mix of industrial skills and painting skills. Moving on, this is another example. This is how, basically within my work, I love to use the viewer as a participant within the work rather than just passive. I like them to be active and actually involved in what's going on, and I think it just takes things to another level. So here is an example of what I like to call exterior design. All these two pieces are spray paint on wood, finished with yacht varnish, and all installed in clients' gardens. I really love installing my art outside, and I've always been interested in positioning my work within the public's eye. In the past, this was explored through a lot of street artwork, but these pieces were installed in private gardens. However, my dream really is to enlarge these pieces and permanently install them in the public space and change the color and the aesthetic of what our public space actually looks like. So this is an example of my illustration work. As I said, my work varies quite a lot from project to project, and I'm quite flexible with what the client wants, but alongside my physical work, I'm creating political and architectural illustrations. In the past, I've made an impact with my political series in Manchester and London when I lived there, pasting on walls in busy areas of the city, paintings on paper from digital illustrations, then physically painted on paper. And I really just, like I said before, love to put something in the public's eye which contrasts the status quo of what they usually see in the street. Say it's a mural, say it's an advert, say it's the design of how the street looks, basically something to shock them and show them something different that intrigues the eye while they're walking in the street. So moving on. So the Accelerator course has been a great opportunity for me and everyone who's done it, I'm sure, to connect and to connect with people who are like-minded within their creations and their business. But it's also allowed me to have the freedom to explore my craft and invest in materials and to basically bring my research ideas to reality. Because what I do, it takes a long, meticulous process. Sometimes it's quite costly to make things that I want to do, and the Accelerator course has really helped me and given me the freedom to explore that. I've started to take myself more seriously as an independent business since doing the course. Keeping organized, recording costs and profits, thinking about how I want to actually build my brand. Before this course, to be honest, I've never actually been taught a business lesson in my life. So it's definitely been a new experience for me and a beneficial one, for sure. In the future, my visions for the future, basically, it's all about public space, transforming my work into the public space and enlarging it at an architectural scale. I could see myself making interactive kinetic pieces that the public can actually interact with, creating work that can impact the landscape of a city, putting an area on the map through colour, through artwork, transforming the status quo of our public space. And in general, my dream is to have freedom with my customers and communicate through my art always. So, thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed that, and all the best to everyone. Bless.
Thank you so much, Callum. If you can get Callum up on screen to join me for the Q&A.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Not gonna lie, I muted myself. I can't stand listening to my own voice, so I just let you guys listen and ask me whatever you want. I can't listen to myself, but thank you for being here. And to anyone I know who's watching, nice to have you here, and everyone I don't know, I hope you like my work, and lovely to meet you virtually.
There's some really nice comments in the chat, so do keep an eye on that. Lots of people saying super cool, they love the way you use color and context for active participation.
I've just seen one that says, do I work with architects? No, but I'd love to. I'd absolutely love to. I'm still at the stage it's a bit of a weird thing being an artist with a business, because I'm still perfecting my craft. I'm still got a lot of work to go. I'm still at the start of this journey. But that's a long-term plan that I've always said for the past couple of years. I'd love to work with architects.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And exactly, we can see, I think it's obvious in your work that is the direction you could potentially go in. Okay. And I think Lizzie's pointed out Wandsworth Roundabout needs an update. Someone said you should be talking to the mayor's office. So I think people can see there's lots of potential for that going forward. I've got a couple of questions that were just messaged to me I can ask you with. Someone said, for someone that seems to have had limited business skills before going into this program, what do you think's most useful? What are the things that are most useful that you have learned from the Accelerator program in terms of business?
Yeah, say mentoring, speaking to people who actually know what they're talking about, learning core skills that you never heard of before that you don't get taught in school and necessarily, and just getting advice and having confidence within yourself. And yeah, I'd say that's it really. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
a very valuable experience though. Learned things that I never would have, and yeah.
Brilliant. Someone else said, got another question here. How do you envisage connecting with future customers and collaborators?
I wish I knew. I don't know. I don't really know how I vision that. Basically, my journey, things just seem to just happen, and it's just take things as they come. It's a bit of a relaxed attitude. I do things in a bit of an unorthodox way, but I guess I need to. What I'm trying to do, especially since doing this course, is take things more seriously and contact people more professionally, and not just live life as if every day is a new day and not planning for the future. That's one of the main things that I'm trying to teach myself, and I've learned from the courses, just preparing for the future and actually making practical, realistic plans and having dreams, of course. Yeah. That's it, but who knows?
Last question I think we can sneak in. Someone said, how do you include politics into your works? So how do you get that politics in there?
Well, I used to do a lot of basically just criticizing politicians, and through a satirical, funny way, and quite a simple way. It's not like it's got a super deep meaning to it. It's just using a narrative, using the political climate, which is quite draining and quite negative, depends how you look at it, and just using it to make people laugh and to be satirical and to make a joke on them, because someone's got to do it.
Brilliant. It's just time to finish up there. So thanks so much, Callum. And as I said, we'll be back in the main room.
Pleasure.
So if anybody's got any more questions, you'll be around then to do that. So thanks,
Thank
Callum.
you, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
brilliant.
you. All the best.
And next up, we've got Olivia from Trash and Factory. And if we just get her presentation ready, I think it's ready to go. Great. We'll get started on that.
Hi, everyone. We are finding ourselves today in a world that is full of energy for change. We have had the most turbulent year, but one where we finally had time to think about our jobs, our governments, our day-to-day life. Our problems? I mean, honestly, there isn't enough time to talk about all of them. Underpaid work in the creative industry, modern slavery, waste, pollution, racism, a completely fucked up fashion system, and all, or so I see it, with one common source: capitalism. So that's why I only partially believe in problem solving, because we need to change our core. With innovative business models, we will be able to truly change our world for the better. I see a different future for us, one where everyone's life experience is recognized, accepted and validated, one that focuses on global localism, democracy built from grassroots, small and resilient businesses. A world where we measure happiness and well-being instead of GDP and monetary achievements. Life that is based around people and the planet. Just actually ourselves and not our profits. Now this is going to sound funny because I just talked about abolishing GDP, but this is where we are at the moment. Today, 20% of global GDP comes from non-for-profit forms of business, where profit actually circulates in the real economy. This is why Trash and Factory is a community interest company with the aim to spread upcycling and zero waste practices and empower local women. We take clothes from recycling warehouses and remake them into wardrobe staples and accessories. All in the fashion revolution spirit of saving waste, reducing consumption, paying fair wages, employing local women, and making with happiness. Everything is made in our studio, which is based in Waltham Forest. Grants are funding upskill workshops for women in Waltham Forest. These focus on teaching craft skills, all connected to upcycling and sustainability. My goal in the future is to create a circular system where sales fund my upskill workshops. At the moment, I'm sewing everything myself. With the business growing, I intend to hire women who attend my workshops. As these women are mostly mothers, I'm interested in creating an employment model that works for motherhood. But how do I get there? With small projects funded by grants, I'm trying different product creation and manufacturing systems that create local jobs and are the beginning of an exciting journey. And I'm Olivia Lara Weber, born and raised in Switzerland. I came to London for an internship, then studied an MA focused on sustainable fashion futures, and fell in love with the city, maybe not so much the weather. After my studies, I've been working as a community teacher. I found the Fashion Factory in May, so it's all very much in its beginnings. And my ask of you is if you know anyone who I could collaborate with on products, or even better on the social innovation side of my business, that could really push my work and my vision forward. The Accelerator has changed the way I work completely. I learned to say no and focus on my values and my journey. I'm so much more confident with everything I do, not only when it comes to my business. Planning has become a joy and not a burden. Thank you so much for a fabulous time.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. Olivia, if you want to join me on screen, yeah, brilliant. There you are.
Hi.
Hiya. Thank you so much for sharing. It's great to hear your journey as well. Lots of claps there in the chat for you. Got a couple of questions here. I'll get started with one. Someone says, can you say a bit more about how planning has helped your business?
I guess, I mean, planning has really helped immensely. When I started out, I really had I did social media posts on the day, or maybe have planned a week ahead. And so I was always really unfocused. The way I worked, I kind of received emails and I answered them, and I was a bit all over the place. And now I have a proper schedule. I know when I want to release a new product, I have a month of social media planned ahead. And yeah, I think it just really helps me play to my strengths. I really learned kind of how and when I work best for what tasks, and really I'm kind of less I work in just a much better flow where I don't let myself kind of be disturbed or disrupted by things. And I think you can see it in my work and how much it has improved since the beginning. It's just way more focused and with proper goals. And yeah, I know where I want to go. And I guess also with the workshops now coming up, because of COVID, obviously I had not that many workshops this year in person with my women, but it helped me just really planning for them and making the time before I can do workshops again as valuable as possible. Yeah.
Great, thank you. A question just come in now asks, what was a transformative experience while you were setting up your business?
I think so. I actually applied for the accelerator with another business that was just before COVID. And there I was upcycling as well, but with two of my friends. And then I worked on the side doing community workshops. And then COVID came and my two partners decided not to work self-employed anymore and to leave the business. And I think that really, really changed. So I then still got into the accelerator because I had already worked on a lot of things when I started. And then really, I then formed my business out of basically all my interests. So I took nonprofit and the community work I do and combined it with the business I had. And I think actually it sounds weird, but COVID has transformed my business completely. Wow. It's given me so much time as well to kind of reflect on who I am and where I want to go and really what our world needs, I guess, today, and how we can really use this time of reflection and change to think of a future that we want to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Welcome back, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed hearing the pictures. So this is now an opportunity. We have all of our entrepreneurs back as panelists in one room, and we have a bit more time together. before we draw to a close. And so this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you didn't have the opportunity to ask after the pitches, because they were quite tight turnaround. But also any questions about the accelerator in general, or anything more broadly you want to ask. You might be somebody considering applying for this year's accelerator, for example, so you might want to find out more about how that works. So I've got chat open. I've got a Q&A box open, so you're very welcome to start asking questions. And I should do that multitasking thing of speaking and asking questions and looking at the boxes and making sure that I try to capture everybody's thoughts. But I will just actually, the chat's going so fast that I can hardly keep up with it. I've got some questions coming in, but I'm just going to let those come in for the moment, and I just want to ask a couple of questions just to kick off, actually. And when I was listening to, I was actually just in one room, but the the themes that really came across to me as I listened to the pitches was hope and values, actually, and those are sort of themes that seem to kind of like connect everybody. And actually, the last speaker, Olivia from Trash and Factory, was talking about how, in a sense, the pandemic had been an opportunity, and somebody in one of the early pitches just typed in, "Wow, your business is full of hope," and I think a good dose of hope is something that we probably all need right now. And I'd just love to know your thoughts, actually, any of you, on that as the kind of post-pandemic economy. Is it something you're entering with hope? Do you see it as full of opportunity? Is it a challenge? Is it both? How do you see the world ahead? So would anybody like to? I'm going to have to find out a way of knowing who wants to speak. If you, I think the panel, if you unmute yourself and just launch forth, if you want to contribute to that question.
I can go first.
Please do.
As Brent always talks about future, I think that question is something that we should be one of the first answering. We like to say the future is now, and I think that's kind of the mindset now at the moment, to actually be actively involved in creating that future rather than letting it happen or unfold in whatever way it will. So gaining more control over the planet, the resources, the people power. So more in that kind of mindset at the moment.
Cool. And I think that that kind of touches on the values as well. It's kind of hope and values together, and it's sort of interesting that the businesses, they don't come across the stories of businesses where you've also thought about values, but actually values seem to be like embedded in the actual structure of the business. It's not, the values are not an add-on, but they're kind of core to what you're all doing. I'm going to stop now with my question because there's so many questions coming in. I'm going to see what I can put to you. So there's a lot of people who are thinking about applying for the accelerator, so there's some specific questions which I'm going to send to ask Emma to reply to. About the accelerator, and I'm just so Emma, there's somebody wanting to know how many places there are, and then the eligibility about whether you have to have sold or be generating revenue already to be able to have a place. So have a think about those questions, Emma, and I'll turn to you in a second. There's a question here about what surprised you most about the experience? What a lovely question. Anybody want to chip in? Just unmute yourself and feel free to respond to that. What surprised you most?
If I can start. So I think when we first applied, we didn't expect COVID to happen, and I think we didn't expect us to be so isolated while working. And I think having the CVA community and just like having every week Wednesday like a meetup session where you know you're going to meet people and you know you're going to learn something new, and like just have that community was really important. Like as all our lives were changing, like we had that kind of like weekly meeting to depend on, and I think that was quite nice.
Anybody, thank you. Anybody else? What surprised you about the experience?
I think it would be again the people. So you would think that after studying in UAL for many years, you wouldn't be surprised that there are so many talented people. But every time I meet the peers, I'm like, wow, how did I even end up here along so many great people?
I think
nice. Go on.
For me, it's about like the collaborative element that's come out of it. Like I feel like we all, once you got inside everybody's brain, it kind of opened up the possibilities to be like, start those connections. Like Lizzie and I have been talking about digital printing, Joe and I've been talking about artisanship. And I think that was really beautiful and really magnified in this time of kind of little other connection that we had with the world.
Thanks, Alan. Are you going to keep up that connection? Actually, I was curious. Are you going to keep in touch in some way?
I'm literally setting up dates in the chat with certain people.
You are class of 20. You are class of 20 for the very first Creative Business Accelerator. So we have to honour that and keep in touch with us as well as keeping in touch with each other. I've got this shows how international we are. Actually, I've got a message in the chat saying hi from OCAD. And for those who don't know who OCAD is the Ontario College of Art and Design, which is in Toronto. We've got quite a few people, I think, from Canada because attending today, because one of the changes that we're making for this new intake is that we are internationalizing, and that's part of the liberation of working online, I think. So OCAD says, I want to send you a huge congratulations to the team and all the businesses. What a great event. What a great event. So thank you, OCAD, and thank you for internationalizing us there. So another question before we go to some of those practical questions. Did the Accelerator teach participants anything they didn't know about themselves? So not necessarily from a business perspective, but a personal perspective. I like that question because, you know, a business accelerator always sounds, you know, that it's, you know, very much about studying cash flows, but this is about what do you learn from a personal perspective? Who'd like to go first?
I think I can go. I actually think I've learned more about myself this past year than I've ever have. Because I've learned that you can't really be your own business person and not know yourself. Like really you make your workplace, the way you work, like with who you connect, what's important for you, even like if you think about how you present yourself to the world. I mean, in today's world, there's almost no rules. The most important rule is to be authentic to yourself, and you'll find people that connect with that authenticity. So actually, I've learned to really, I don't know, almost value myself and my thoughts, and trust myself more and be more confident in myself. So, yeah.
Thank you. So you sound, so I'm sure Lizzie would have something to say about this and about finding out about yourself because of the nature of your business. Lizzie, what do you think?
Yeah, sure. I just completely agree with Olivia, really. Over the past year, I think we've been forced to look in the mirror and literally like on screen back at ourselves quite intensely. So doing that whilst looking at our businesses really intensely week on week is just an extremely reflective process throughout. So yeah, I'd say I've definitely learned a lot about myself, but more so about strangely enough, being able to think further ahead than I had been able to before, even though we don't really know what the future holds. So that's been really, really amazing, just that shift of perspective.
Thanks, Lizzie. And both Lizzie and Olivia, you have very, in your pictures, you were talking very much about your values and your personal journey. I'm curious actually about that question, putting that question to those who spoke much more from a business perspective. So I'm thinking, like Modern Synthesis, you're talking a lot about your amazing development of the team and the pre-seed investment and so on. What about your personal journey? What have you learned about yourselves as well as business?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can go first and Ben can add on his own journey, because I think we probably had our own unique journeys along this road. I think for me, it's been confidence, I guess. One of the biggest things that I've been given through this experience. So finishing up my MA, and I think earlier on in my career, like business was always the thing, like I'm not a business person. I don't want to do business. Business is evil. But I think going through this experience, I have started to kind of shift my perspective as kind of business as an enabler and building organizations to further the vision, which I can't do by myself. And I think also that sort of transition from my own perspective about sort of my own work to the work of the company, and that my role is about enabling the rest of my team to help me build that vision. And I think that's been a really big transformation for me personally.
Thanks, Jen. And kind of similarly, Makers Cabinet, you were probably the ones who had the most trading experience, I guess, as you came into the accelerator. What did you learn about yourselves as individuals? Noah, have we got Noah?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't switch my camera on before, sorry, because I didn't realize we were on gallery view. But so what have we learned about ourselves on the CBA? I think that since we're a group of 3 business partners, I think it's really helped us to define our roles and to sort of learn our own abilities and where to focus. So that's something that's really useful, because as Ben and Jen were saying, they've been building their team, and so have we. And it just means that we can sort of be filling out other roles and having responsibilities which were previously shared, and having them a bit more independent, and then feeding them back to them sort of management or whatever. Has been a great thing that's happened in the past few months.
Cool, thanks, Noah. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because some of the businesses are individual, like Lizzie and Olivia at the moment, but so thinking very much about themselves, but you're thinking about you in relation to each other and your kind of, your roles as directors of the company. So I've got some practical questions, because there's a question just come in which says, before the CBA, at what stage of your career were you in? Did you all already know what your business was, or were you just full of ideas and in need of direction? That kind of, I'll turn to the panelists first on that, because you can tell your own personal stories about where you were, because I think some of you were quite in different places before you came in. But then there is the criteria question, which is very similar, which we'll go to Emma for in a second. So panelists, what before the CBA, what stage of your career were you in? Did you already know what your business was, or was it through the CBA that you formulated it? Anybody who hasn't spoken yet, anybody like to chip in?
I think I had an idea, but the CBA gave me direction, and I was able to put things on a step and organize my house first. And then with that result, I was able to show more things to new people. So I guess we all know what we were doing, but this helped us to have some structure in the business. That's my opinion.
Thanks. Thanks, Camila. And Olivia, I think you were talking in your pitch about how you very much changed from your initial idea, and it really morphed into something else, and you changed business partner or lost business partner. Is that right, Olivia? Do you want to address that?
Yeah. I think I applied as a business called Joa, and then I think right before it started, I transformed to trash and factory. And I think also from like a limited company to then, and I mean, because I already had a business before, I had many things already thought through, or kind of, I already had a studio and I knew kind of the way I was working and kind of the products I kind of roughly wanted to make. I already had applied for grants for my workshops. So almost like a lot of the things were there in the beginning, but I think what I really hadn't thought much about was the branding aspect, and kind of going from a team of 3 where you are compromising yourself a bit because you are working in this kind of more a group, even like especially visually in this kind of group visual, and now then kind of going to myself and what that means. And I think that very much formed, like with the branding, I was very much at the beginning and I didn't have a website. So it had a lot of kind of structural things set up, but kind of the communication to the outside world wasn't really there. Yeah.
So I think that both those examples illustrate something that is really important in entrepreneurship and creative entrepreneurship, is actually having the permission to pivot, what we call pivot. And so you start your entrepreneurial journey with one vision and one set of ideas, and you're learning as you go. And then you sometimes, not always, but sometimes you come to a point where you think, actually, what I started with has to change, and you have to let go. And sometimes it's a mistake to hold on too hard onto something that you started with because you feel like you ought to, or you applied with that idea or something. And so I certainly think permission, giving you or giving yourselves permission to pivot in business is super important. And you hear that all the time in tech businesses. Tech businesses pivot, and creative businesses can pivot too. Emma, can we just turn to you actually, because this touches on, there's lots of questions, practical questions, I think, from our potential applicants about, touch on all of this, about how formulated your business idea should be. Should you be already trading? What are we really looking at, looking for when we're selecting? And then there's also that very practical question about how many places do we have? So do you want to come on screen, Emma, and some of those practical questions? And if anybody has some questions for Emma while Emma's speaking, I'll pick them up in chat and see. Oh, there's another question which has come in, and I'm going to say it to you, Emma, so you've got 3, which is about are we open to social enterprises? Enterprises that not necessarily have products or services to sell, but are about supporting a network of creatives. So 3 questions there. Start on what are we looking for?
I'll start on the easy one, the number one. So for someone that asked how many people are you recruiting for, how many people in the next group, we're looking for about 15. There was about a similar number in this group, as you can see, and I think that makes a really good way to have a really good dialogue, and not too big, not too small. So we're looking for around 15 businesses, something like that. And like we said, can be international, can be from any of the UAL colleges, and can be from a big range, as you've seen, from fine art to graphics to media, etc., etc. So we have some specific questions on sort of what point you have to be at your business. Someone's quoted what's in the guidance, actually have developed some form of income for your business or product idea. So what we're really asking for here is not someone that's at let's say just idea stage. They've done some testing of their concept already. So they have perhaps sold some products. If they're a product-based business, they've tested the waters with their service if they're a service-based business. So if we know kind of that everyone approaches business and starting up in a different way, especially in the creative sphere though. So if you think that you might be up for applying and you're not sure if you fit the criteria, then do please write to me and we can kind of discuss it more specifically. My email address, which we can put up in the chat, is, or me and my team can cover, is enterprise@arts.ac.uk. and just tell me about your specific business and how you're approaching it, and I can let you know if it's the right time for you to apply. So I hope that answers that question. Do have a look at our website and guidance as well on that. But any questions, then I'm really happy to sort of personally answer you if you tell me what stage of business you're at. And then to get onto the third question, yes, we're totally open to social enterprises, of course, and a lot of our businesses here have a sort of social arm of what they do as well. Again, it would be good if you've tested out that your model. How are you going to bring that income in, which you're then going to sort of perhaps use in a circular way. So yes, we're definitely open to that. And again, but if you have questions that are quite specific about your product or service, do just email me and I can answer all your questions if you're thinking of applying.
Thanks, Emma. And actually, we got 3 more questions have come in for you as you were speaking. Are there any specific requirements in terms of age to apply?
My goodness, no, of course not. I don't know if they meant like literal age of the person or the age of the business. Talking about the age of the business, we're roughly taking on people that have perhaps been going for a year or more. And that might be whilst you're studying though. So, and talking of timing, actually up to 5 years of graduating UAL. So that's some info on timing. But again, we're a little bit flexible on things depending on your approach. So do get in contact if you've got a more specific question.
Sure, yeah, definitely no age barriers in terms of individuals. So if you don't get in, are you allowed to reapply?
Yes, of course, and we'll try and give you feedback where we can if we don't select you. And often it might be, we're talking about the timing a lot, it might be that we just deem it's not quite the right time for you or the fit with the group that we're getting. So we'll give you that feedback. We're going to hopefully have one every year, so you'll get a chance to apply next year. So it's an annual thing.
Okay, brilliant. So there's a question here that you've already answered, which is the graduating, how many years after graduation is the cutoff? So you've answered that one, but there's much more abstract. What do you look for in applicants, and how does your selection process work?
What we look for in applicants, well, as you can see from the amazing 12 businesses we have here, can be from lots of different backgrounds and lots of different approaches to business. You obviously have to be a UAL graduate though. What was the second part of the question?
The second was, how does the selection process work?
Oh, the selection process. Okay, that's a little bit easier to explain. So you apply by the 19th of April, please. We then have a selection panel. If you're shortlisted, we'll ask you to come and meet the, well, it'll be online, obviously. We'll ask you to pitch to us, so to give us a 5-minute pitch about your business. And then from that shortlisting, we'll tell you if you're successful or not. So yeah, it's a 2-stage process. So you apply with your written application and upload any pictures or videos, of course. And then if shortlisted, you get invited to interview, to pitch and meet the team.
Great, thanks, Emma. And Layla's pasted into the chat information on how to apply, and there's a link right there, so you can find out all of these. I think most of these questions, not a lot of these questions, or the details probably, and deadlines and so on, and the process and the application is all by following that link. We've got a question of how can anybody who's, so we're dealing a lot there with potential applicants, but this question is about people who are not applicants but who might like to get involved as mentors, for example. How can organisations who want to get involved, to support the programme, get involved?
Yes, that's amazing. Please do write to me at enterprise@arts.ac.uk. Maybe Layla, you can put that email in. We have had some amazing mentors on this scheme. Some of them got a name mention. We had Helen Johansson from Cockpit, actually, David, being one of the mentors. We've had amazing mentors from Google, who are our partner. Anika did loads of mentoring. And we've had Patrick with Makers Cabinet. So we've had some amazing mentors so far, but we're always looking for more. And we do we matched the mentors according to need. So some people wanted help with their tech or advertising. Some people wanted an industry related mentor, so product designer with product designer, etc., etc. So we do work quite closely with the businesses on what their needs are for a mentor, and then yes, reach out to organizations that are in our network, but we're always looking to expand that network. So please, if anyone's watching and they would love to be a mentor or even a speaker, do get in contact with myself and the team, and we'd love to invite you. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that would make great people to support the scheme.
Okay, lovely, thank you. So I've got so the chat, which is going crazy. I think we've I think it's going a bit slower. I think we probably answered lots of questions. I've kind of, just to pull it together, I've got a question for the panelists again, and because we're getting a lot of questions here, people who want to apply. What would you say? What would you say to anybody who is, you know, here in the room tonight and thinking of applying? Anybody who's not managed to speak? So I'm looking right now. Go ahead.
I think with applying kind of makes you really think about where your business is, makes you think about what's important to you and what area you want to sort of improve, and the places where you feel more strong and less strong. And I'd say even if you don't get selected for this year, I think the process of applying is a good one. And it doesn't mean you can't apply again, but I think it really is, take it as an opportunity to think about areas that you want to grow in or improve. Because if you do get selected, brilliant. If you don't, then you can maybe look for elsewhere in the meantime before you apply again. I think it is a chance for you to focus. The questions that they'll ask you when you're applying make you really think about what's important to you.
Thanks, Lily, and we absolutely try to create it as a learning opportunity. So if you don't, you know, if you don't manage to get in this time, then, you know, as Emma says, it's an opportunity to learn and get feedback, so the application process itself is as Ellen said, a learning process. Okay, I've got anybody else want to give a little bit of advice to potential applicants?
I think just building on what Lily just said, just be very true to your application. Just say the hard facts and where you really are at the moment. Don't try to embellish or make it sound good, or sort of like just throw away information. Be really sort of reasonable. This is where the business is at, this is where we want to go, and then the CBA will just help you with the journey to achieve all of those objectives, and it will be a much more smooth sort of journey rather than something that you might have to catch up over the last of the course.
Thanks, Joe. Anyone else? Okay, as just before I do put it together, I've got one last very practical question. This is going back to Emma. One last application question. If your work's 3D, what's the best way to present it when you're presenting to the accelerator? What's the format you present in if you're 3D, if your work is 3D?
Just take some great photographs or videos, please, and send them across. We've had some great kind of video sent to us of like moving artwork and things like that. Some of Callum's work looks great on video. So yes, just do please try and take some great photos of your work, well lit, so that we can see what it's doing, and do send it to us.
Thanks, Emma, and thanks for the question. And I keep saying, oh, just one more question before we close, and then I get another question. There's a question about the bursary and what makes you applicable for the bursary, but actually being on the program means you're applicable for the bursary. So it's nothing more complicated than that. It's just part of being on the program. There is a bursary to support you, because the aim of the accelerator is really to help people to become you know, is to create the space for you to really develop your business, and that bursary is there to, you know, to help support you to do that.
Thank you to the tech team that helped today and stepped in and ran everything. And again, to everyone in the CNE team who helped. Just another thank you to the speakers and mentors. You have been invaluable. Your expertise have been amazing, and you've given lots of time and advice, so that's amazing. Anika, just another shout out to you. It's been such a pleasure working alongside you and Google and everyone from there. And just thank you again and congratulations to all the businesses. I miss our Wednesday mornings together, and I hope we can all meet up soon and have a celebration. And I think that takes us up to 6. So thank you, everyone. Congratulations.